The world of science rarely descends into the realm of suspense and enigma, but for Dr. Elena Vasquez, that line blurred on an ordinary Thursday evening. Hours before vanishing, she posted a single cryptic message online. Some knowledge cannot be contained. What I've discovered is only the beginning and the end. As Dr. Vasquez disappeared into the ether, leaving no trace but this one perplexing statement, ripples spread across the scientific community, reaching even those outside its inner circles. That's where Daniel Park came in. Disillusioned and fatigued by the compromises of modern journalism, the veteran reporter had been drifting between assignments, his investigative zeal waning. But the urgency in Elena's message rekindled his curiosity. Her words hinted at a discovery monumental enough to alter the course of human history, an invitation to uncover her secrets. Dr. Vasquez had once been a fixture at the prestigious laboratories of Neurocorp, a biotechnological powerhouse famed for its secretive innovations in AI. Her reclusive reputation was well-earned. She had seldom spoken to the media, and her work was shrouded in layers of corporate confidentiality. But her silence was part of her appeal, a mystique that only heightened the impact of her final message. Daniel's investigation began where most of his assignments did, piecing together bits of information and drawing inferences. His first discovery was an estrangement between Dr. Vasquez and Dr. Isaac Grant, a biogenetics researcher who had been one of her few close allies. But years ago, they had parted ways. Daniel's sources hinted that the split had been more than a professional disagreement. To Daniel, Dr. Grant's refusal to address her disappearance or mention their falling out spoke volumes. Seeking any insights, he contacted the one other person who had worked closely with Elena, Ava Lee, a young AI prodigy who had served as her assistant. When they met, Ava was jittery, her dark eyes darting with a sense of apprehension as she offered him little more than cryptic comments and sidelong glances. She was wary, almost afraid to trust him, but he sensed a loyalty to her missing mentor that might eventually guide her to help him. Elena's words gnawed at Daniel until he examined them more closely. In her post, he noticed something unusual, a pattern in the spacing of her words, almost like a code. Decoding it led him to an abandoned lab she had once used for her early research, a dilapidated building nestled on the outskirts of town. Inside, he discovered encrypted files and fragments of journal entries detailing her theories on cognitive AI. The journals painted a haunting picture of Dr. Vasquez. Her writing oscillated between excitement and fear, and one phrase recurred often: the threshold. Elena believed she had reached a critical juncture in her research, a discovery that, if exploited, could transform humanity in unimaginable ways. She feared that if her work fell into the wrong hands, it could lead to consequences darker than anyone could foresee. As Daniel dug deeper, he confirmed what he had suspected. Dr. Grant wasn't merely an estranged colleague. He had been pressing Elena to unveil her findings. Rumors of a feud began to surface, and Daniel learned that the disagreement had been philosophical at its core. Isaac believed that Elena's discovery could revolutionize society, dismissing her fears as misplaced paranoia. To him, scientific progress knew no moral bounds, and the promise of elite cognitive enhancement held the key to human advancement. When Daniel tried confronting Isaac, he was met with evasions and deflections. Isaac's self-assurance and sharp gaze didn't flinch, his charisma only solidifying Daniel's suspicions. Though charming, there was something lurking behind his carefully cultivated persona, a willingness to manipulate those around him for the sake of his vision. Isaac's responses raised a troubling possibility, that he might not only know about Elena's work, but could be actively pursuing it for his own gain. Determined to press on, Daniel and Ava continued their search. following the clues Elena had left behind. The pair eventually decrypted her files, revealing a revolutionary concept: a prototype AI capable of interfacing directly with the human brain. This discovery could amplify cognitive abilities beyond natural limits, allowing its user to access new realms of thought and perception. But as Daniel pored over the data, Elena's concerns became clear. In the wrong hands, this technology could grant unprecedented control over human thought, a potential weapon for those seeking influence. Isaac's name appeared frequently in Elena's files, always accompanied by warnings. Her belief that he intended to exploit the technology, not for enlightenment, but as a tool for dominance. The implications were chilling. In the wrong hands, Elena's discovery wasn't a gift. It was a ticking time bomb. Ava, horrified, vowed to help Daniel bring Elena's message to light. Yet she was wary of corporate eyes that monitored their every move, well aware of the lengths NeuroCorp might go to silence anyone who could expose their secrets. Daniel and Ava tracked down Elena's last known coordinates, following an encrypted map she had embedded in her files. But Isaac was only steps behind, his presence a looming shadow, willing to follow any lead to find her. Their search led them to an isolated compound, a place Elena had prepared for the eventuality that her discovery would need to be hidden from those who couldn't be trusted. As they entered, they found her, alive but deeply unsettled, her face a mix of relief and dread at seeing them. She'd set the trail herself, placing clues to test whether they were worthy of her secret. As Daniel and Ava listened, she revealed her reasoning, explaining that her prototype was not merely a tool for advancement, but a Pandora's box she could not unleash. The ability to control or enhance cognitive functions would give anyone in power a means to manipulate the very fabric of human consciousness. Before they could plan a next step, Isaac arrived, his voice ringing with conviction as he accused Elena of cowardice. To him, this was humanity's greatest opportunity, and he was determined to seize it, no matter the cost. The confrontation escalated, with Isaac defending his belief that science should never be bound by ethical limits. Elena, you can't keep humanity in the dark forever. We are on the cusp of evolution, he argued, his tone laced with disdain for her caution. Don't you see? With your work, we could be gods. But Elena's response was resolute. No, Isaac. It's not godhood. It's enslavement. You would use this technology to control people, not empower them. Her words struck a nerve. Daniel saw Isaac's face tighten, and in that moment he realized that Isaac's ambition was beyond reason, blinded by his own conviction. Realizing the peril of letting her research fall into Isaac's hands, Elena activated a failsafe within the lab. The prototype was rigged to self-destruct, its data set to erase itself permanently. Isaac, enraged, tried to stop her, but Daniel and Ava blocked his path. With one final decisive keystroke, Elena rendered her life's work inaccessible, leaving only the fragments of her encrypted files, which could never be fully decoded without her presence. She looked at Daniel with a mix of exhaustion and gratitude, and he understood the weight of her sacrifice. As the hum of the self-destruction sequence filled the room, Elena whispered to Ava, "This wasn't a discovery for today's world. Maybe someday humanity will be ready, but not now." In the days that followed, Daniel published his exposé, revealing the existence of a technology that had danced on the edge of possibility, but stopping short of exposing any details that could enable replication. The story brought to light the ethical dilemmas faced by scientists like Elena, and condemned the ambitions of men like Isaac, who saw no limits to their pursuit of power. The scandal rocked the scientific community, and Isaac's reputation plummeted, his name tarnished by the revelations. Neurocorp distanced itself from him, and the world debated the story of Dr. Elena Vasquez, a scientist who held the keys to evolution yet chose to protect humanity from its own hubris. As for Ava, she dedicated herself to advancing ethical standards in AI, becoming a leading advocate for responsible innovation. She worked tirelessly to honor her mentor's legacy, never forgetting the lesson Elena had imparted, that some discoveries should remain hidden until humanity was ready for them. And Daniel, his purpose renewed, continued his work, knowing that his search for truth was far from over. He had glimpsed the dangerous allure of knowledge without limits, and knew he'd never see the world the same way again.